Hello, everyone. I am Asheka Tenzin, the Academic Director at D.Y. Patil International Schools. Thank you for coming for my session. Today, I will be running a session on how to use the revised Bloom's taxonomy in your classroom. So that would be the main overview of my session here. I will just share my screen. I will be using the Classify browser as well as the add-on tool. So when I start my presentation, I would request you to click on the link. It will take you to a link which says classify.com. You will have to sign in or register in with the same email ID that you have used for this particular Zoom event. Okay, so then you will be able to answer and interact with me on that particular platform. So I would request you to please use that platform in order to interact, and I will be also showing participants uh, whatever they have answered or whatever they would want to ask the question. I hope you are able to see this particular presentation on your screen that I'm sharing. Let
Yes.
me know. Yeah, let me know if you are able to see or not. Thank you so much, whoever responded to this question. So now I will be talking about using how we will use the revised Bloom taxonomy in the classroom. So when you start planning, unit planning, or when you start thinking about what activities you want to carry out in the classroom, and if you are doing backward planning, if you are going to think about what are the assessments that I would want to create for my students in order to know whether they have understood what you want them to understand, you can use Bloom's taxonomy in all the three cases. When you are thinking about activities, when you are thinking about learning objectives, and when you're thinking about assessments. So Bloom's taxonomy can be used in all the three cases. So So this is the overview. I will be helping you out to understand how you can use the Bloom's taxonomy. Now, first, we will understand what Bloom's taxonomy is. I know that everybody is a teacher and you do know about Bloom's, but still, let me gather and maybe we should just recall about our understandings of Bloom's taxonomy, because there are many command terms that are used that we could be using in our assessments. When we plan our assessments, we use those command terms. So these verbs, the command terms, are a part of the Bloom's taxonomy. We will also look at classroom application of the Bloom's taxonomy. Now here I have this interactive space. If you have logged, clicked on the particular link that I have shared, uh, this will appear on your screen, and you can just type in or write about what do you think is Bloom's taxonomy. This is a Freya's model. I often use this when teaching or doing a session with the teachers, where I want to find out what is the understanding of the particular term that I have put in the center. What do you think about it? So this is for prior knowledge. So what you can do is you can, in on the space provided for you for the interactive space where you can see, you can just put in the definition. How do you define Bloom's taxonomy? I will check the responses. Uh, People have started logging in. I can see Betty here, Siddharth, Vishal, Jackson, Zainab, Cheryl, and Nimesh. Thank you for attending my session. And I'm waiting for your response for this particular task where I'm using the Freya's model. And the main idea about this is you can use this for prior knowledge when you are in your classroom teaching. So on this side, on the left-hand side on top, you write the definition of Bloom's taxonomy. What do you think is the definition of Bloom's taxonomy? On the right side on top, you can type in the facts and characteristics of Bloom's taxonomy. What do you understand? What are the characteristics? On the left hand side at the bottom, you can write examples of maybe the verbs or activities that you do according to Bloom's taxonomy. And here, when I say non-examples, means what is not Bloom's taxonomy. Anything that is not Bloom's taxonomy, you can put it over here. So I'll look at responses here. I can see that Sandhya has started writing and typing. So yes, to classify learning objectives. I have Sandhya here again. So Sharon is here.
I have
Sharon is,
written one. Can you see?
yeah. Sandhya is here. Siddharth
No,
is here
Siddharth.
to promote higher order thinking. Betty is here. Tasks are guided by words. Yes. Zainab, Jackson, Parul, Ritu. Those who have joined late, I'm putting in the link again. You can use the link and you can participate in the interactive session. When you click on the link, it will ask you to use an email ID to enter it. Please use the same email ID that you have used for attending this particular Zoom session. So if you have used your personal email ID, please type your personal email ID and then enter this. So you'll be able to interact. Okay, so I'll type the link again so that you can interact. So I can see that Vishal has also written something. Define your own teaching and learning models, classifying your own styles of learning. Sumalata has not yet responded. Ritu is not yet responded. Parul has said hierarchy model for learning objectives. Cheryl, I had already read hers. Sandhya has written about characteristics. You can do differentiation using Bloom's taxonomy. Yes, you are very right. There is this particular template when you Google Bloom's taxonomy MI is multiple intelligence matrix. Then you will get a template like thing on different resources where teachers have already put in different activities or different questions that you can ask for the particular intelligences in the different levels of Bloom. So you can do that. Yes, you can do differentiation using Bloom's taxonomy. Siddharth has written to promote higher order thinking. Yes. Betty has written examples, understand, identify, explain, no scaffolding. Yes, thank you so much for your responses. You are very right. Now, this was my first understanding whether you all know about or how much do you know about Bloom's taxonomy. So, we can use Bloom's taxonomy, which this is an instructional theory and it categorizes the different levels of learning. Now, there are three domains of Bloom. You have the cognitive domain, you have the affective domain, and you have the skills domain. Now, I'm not looking at skills and affective domain. I'm only looking at cognitive domain, that is about higher order thinking skills, okay, in this particular presentation. Now, Bloom's taxonomy is also a tool for us so that we can write our learning objectives, we can do curriculum planning, mapping, you can deliver your content through different activities, and you can also create assessment tasks based on the different levels of Blooms. So this is how you can use Blooms in the different teaching learning that can happen in our classrooms. Now, how do we do that? Now, again, this is an activity which I have created. You would be seeing this particular triangle and the different colors of the sections here. What I would request you to do is type in or scribble on the different levels. What are the different levels of Bloom's taxonomy? As you go from down to up, what are the names of the different levels of Bloom's taxonomy? So again, I would ask you to respond to the task. So now if I see the responses, Betty has already started writing her responses, remembering, understanding. Thank you for being so proactive. Parul has also written, but I think, yeah, she's done that. Thank you. Cheryl is also trying to write. Cheryl, these are the verbs that we are using in the Bloom's taxonomy. I wanted you to write the names of each of the levels. Yeah, thank you. Siddharth is still yet to respond. We have Priya. Yes, Priya has started writing. Thank you. Betty, I think, is about to finish the remaining two levels. Uh, Parul, you will have to drag your things up. It is visible like this. You are there, but you are not putting, you are not typing it in the right space. You'll have to work on that. Uh, Sudha, yes, recalling, understand. Okay. So most of the responses are there here. Let me look at the chat. Uh, Zainab is saying to understand, define, and distinguish the. I think that was the response for the earlier. What was Bloom's taxonomy used for? I'm putting in the link again for those who are joining right now and who have joined after I started my session. This is a particular link when you open in order to interact with me on this particular Classically platform. When you click on this, please register with the same email ID that you have registered for this particular session. So if I'm looking at now, if I have to use this tool and if I have to show the responses, I can display it this way, individually, or I can have a grid view of who all have uh, answered. So this particular tool is the Classically tool which I'm using. It can be used for interactive responses from individual students. You can see that students have responded here, and I can actually focus like this and see what each participants have written. So when I go individual, I can see the names also of the participants here. So you could use this in your teaching learning. All right. So thank you for responding. Now this is the answer that I was looking for. So the first level, the bottommost level is remember. Next is understand, then apply, analyze, evaluate, and then create. So as we move from the bottom to the top, the level of cognitive level and level of thinking becomes more difficult. So here, this is the lowest level of thinking, whereas create is the highest level of thinking. So this is according to the revised Bloom's taxonomy. Okay. Let me go to the next slide. So on this particular slide, again, you can see that I have put over here in the picture the different levels. So level 1 is remembering, level 2 understanding, level 3 applying, level 4 analyzing, 5 evaluating, and level 6 creating. Now each of these over here, the explanation of these different levels are given on the adjacent part. This particular slide I will share with you after the event. So you will be able to read what the explanations are here. Now, when you see each of these levels of Bloom's, right from remembering to creating, you have different action verbs that you can use. Okay, there is a list of action verbs that you can use. And here, remembering is the lowest level, and it uses the action verb of memorize, recall, reproduce, and where you recognize facts and terms. Whereas create is the highest level of thinking. Over here, the students produce something new. Okay, so it is based on constructivism. You have knowledge, you collect all the knowledge, and then you create a new knowledge, or you create a new product when you are reaching the highest level of Bloom's. Now, how will I use Bloom's in my classroom? I already told you in my beginning session when I started off that you could use Bloom's in many different ways while teaching learning in your classroom. The very first way that you can use is to write your learning objectives. Now, you would have heard these terms, learning objective and learning outcome. Okay, these are two different things. Learning objectives are the goals that the teacher wishes, okay, to know what the students should achieve. Okay, so they are mini goals that the students are going to achieve. And learning outcomes are the things that the students will do in order to show that they have reached that objective or they have fulfilled the objective. So learning outcomes are the actions that the students take in order to provide evidence that the learning objective is met. So these are two different things. Learning objectives are for us to create goals for the students, whereas learning outcomes are the task that the students will do and the evidence that they will show in order to show us that the learning objective is met. Now, you can also use Bloom's to structure your course content for curriculum mapping. I will show you how in the further slides. And you can also use Bloom's to assess or to measure student progress. So these are the ways how you can use Bloom's in your teaching and learning. So now I just spoke about action verbs. So what are these verbs? So if you look from level 1, remember, level 2, understand, level 3, apply, level 4, analyze, level 5, evaluate, and level 6, create. Here there are 6 levels, and as you go, you can see that we are going to a higher level. And beneath these particular levels, here is a list of command terms that you can use, okay, in order to find out whether the students have reached that particular level. So if you are going to say classify the different organisms into the different classes of vertebrates, then it would come into understand. If you say calculate the average of the particular data that is given, then you would have reached the level of apply. If you say create an infographic which shows information about organ donation and why you need to donate an organ using your persuasive skills, then that would be the highest level of Bloom's that you're going to give for a student to do. So these are all the verbs, action verbs that can be used for the different levels of Bloom's. So if you're using only define and list and select and state, that means you are just working on the lowest level of cognition. And when you are giving tasks where the students have to analyze or evaluate things, write their judgment, okay, write their opinion about something, then that would be evaluation, where it is at a higher level. Okay, so when I create my task, or when I create my summative assessment, especially because I teach in the MYP, and criteria A MYP is a pain in order to create those tasks for the 3 different strands, for the 3 different strands, the different levels. For each strand also you have to look at level 1 and 2, what questions will I put? Level 3 and 4, what questions will I write? Level 4, 5 and 6, what questions will I put? And for level 7 and 8, again, then what questions should I write? So in order to do that, I make use of this particular task. Hi Ashika, what would explain come under? Would it be understand? Wait, I will show you where the explanation comes over here. Mostly it would be understand or analyze. Now when I talk about the revised Bloom's taxonomy, I will also talk about knowledge dimensions. Okay, now these terms are there, but they can be put into different knowledge dimensions. That will come later. I will answer that questions. Okay, now I would like you to watch this particular video along with me. Instead of you clicking on the thing and watching it, I will just share with everybody here. I have saved it as a video, YouTube video. I would want you to just pay attention to what the Tammy is going to say about like writing learning objectives using the Bloom's taxonomy. She has a definite system in place where you can write learning objective using the Bloom's taxonomy. So 1 minute.
I guess we'll just talk and just dive right into writing measurable learning objectives. Now remember, Dr. Hayslip likes to make everything as simple as possible because that's the way that it helps me to learn. So I wanted you to use what I call the ABCDs of writing learning objectives. So let's go ahead and start with the A. Now the A for writing a learning objective is what, Mary Ellen? Audience, exactly right. The A stands for audience. And the audience in a learning objective is the student. The student, that's right. So for just now, as you're starting out, writing these learning objectives, I know it's a formula, And I know that you will not be writing these formulas forever, but for now, I want you to do this because it will help you. All right, so audience. We will say the who? The teacher? No, not the teacher. Who are we teaching? That's exactly right, Jim Bob. It is the student. The student will be able to. That is the audience in our learning objective. So we did that in red. And I used red because I want us to remember that the most important thing, we're not teaching content, we're teaching students. And then the content and skills come after that. So I'm going to pick up my next one. And my next color is going to be black. And black is going to be a strong color because it's going to be the behavior of our learning objective. Now, what is the behavior of our learning objective? What is it, Ellen? Exactly right. It is our verb. The behavior is going to be our verb. And where do we get these verbs? Where do we think about these verbs? We think about them with, let's see, John Boy? Yes, I know, I'm calling on you because you're sitting up front. So John Boy, when we're thinking about the hierarchy of learning, and remember there's a certain theorist that we talk a lot about, and we start out at the low level, which is really just the knowledge level, but we don't want to leave our students there. We want to bump it up pretty quick. So we start at the knowledge, and then we bump them up through different levels where they're actually doing more with this, where they're able to apply, where they could compare and contrast and analyze, all the way up to where they're actually taking that information and creating something. So who is the theorist that we learned about for that? Benjamin Bloom. Excellent. That's right. Kiss your brain. Excellent. That's right. Benjamin Bloom. So we're going to use Bloom's taxonomy to help us with our verbs for our behavior. Bloom's taxonomy, our behavior. These are going to be our verbs. And here's just a few. The student will be able to classify, label, define, etc. So we have our audience in red. We have our B, our behavior, in black. All right. So now we're going to go to something bright that's going to help communicate that behavior. So we know that after B comes what? Not D. Come on now, college students. After B comes C. Excellent. That's right. C. So C stands for condition. Now the condition is going to flesh out that verb. It's going to tell us how and what. So we have the student will be able to, and then we have our behavior, and then we have our condition that's going to tell us how this is going to happen. Maybe it's going to be on a graphic organizer. Maybe it's going to be on an exit ticket. Maybe it's going to be on a quiz. Maybe it's going to be on a diagram, etc., etc., etc. All right? So we have our A, which is what? Audience. We have our B, which is behavior. We have our C, which is our condition. All right. So we have, let's see, we're going to use the blue. The blue. You know, there's a bit of research out there that says that students find it extra punitive if you use red when you're grading their papers. I don't know. To me, red really stands out. I don't really think of it as punitive, but I'm just telling you, if you wanted to use a blue or a purple, that might work out a little bit better on grading papers. You do what you think is best for your students. I like purple and blue, so I might just use purple and blue because that's what I like. All right, so I'm going to use blue for the D. For the D. All right, Elizabeth, what does the D stand for? No, it doesn't stand for dumb. No, it doesn't stand for dandy. No, it stands for how we're going to make this very measurable. It's our degree of proficiency. Excellent, that's right. It's our degree of proficiency. Now, I know that your teacher's heart is that we teach to mastery. We want all of our students to make 100% on everything that we teach. But we know that that is not the reality, especially with a lot of students. And even though we accommodate and we scaffold and we reteach as needed, many of our students will never actually achieve mastery, but we can achieve proficiency. So our degree of proficiency is when we say, this is the level that our students have learned and have met this objective. So this could be many things. It could be things like 80%. It could be 7 out of 10. It could be even a word like without error, which would be 100%. But if you are only assessing maybe 3 things, then you probably would really want to say without error, because it's a very small number that you are, or a very small amount of content or skills that you are assessing. Okay? You can even use the word successfully. All right. So we have our audience, our behavior, our condition, and our degree of proficiency. All right, so now I'm going to erase the board.
If you want to continue with this particular video, then we can do it later. It is there in the resource that I'll share with you, the PowerPoint presentation. Okay. Okay, so this was about how to write the learning objective and how you will use the Bloom's taxonomy verbs. So where she says be, behavior, that is the space where you are going to use your different verbs and decide what level are you asking the question, the cognitive level, okay, for the task that the student is supposed to do. So she was talking about how to write learning objective. Now here is another resource that I would like to share, and I have put the particular link for that particular resource here beneath the presentation. In this particular table, we can see that there are different, the 6 different levels of Bloom's. The verbs that we can use. Now these verbs, if you see, you can check it in your subject guide, and you can see that these are actually the command terms that we use in our teaching learning and in assessments. Okay, and here are examples of the learning objectives, how the learning objectives are written. So the student will be able to recite, this is what the command term is, recite what? Newton's 3 laws of motion. Okay, so this is a learning objective. So you will have to write your learning objectives in this way. You can write it using your different command terms or keywords of Bloom's. Now, I would like you to respond to this. What does Bloom's taxonomy actually look like when used effectively in a classroom? So what you can think about is, for the different levels, what kind of activities can you do? And how can Bloom's taxonomy help us in curriculum planning? Now, when we are talking about effectively use in a classroom, I'm not talking about just when you are taking a lesson, but when you are preparing for a lesson also, what you are going to teach, or when you are mapping a curriculum, how can you use Bloom's taxonomy? What will it look like? when you are planning your curriculum or writing your learning objectives or doing a particular activity or assessing in the class? How will it look? How will the Bloom's taxonomy look? Okay, I would want you to respond on this. When you sign up on this link, please use the email ID that you have used for attending this particular event. So I can see create a mixed media collage. Okay. Students start using them regularly during class as well and are comfortable with their meanings. Yes. When you keep using the command terms, then the students will know that, okay, this is what recall looks like, or this is what analysis looks like. Okay.
Ashika, I had a question.
Yes.
Ashika, I just wanted to know, is it possible for command terms to reflect in more than one, uh, learning objective in Bloom's taxonomy? For example, contrast appears in understand as well as analyze.
I will go through this. It's a good question. I'll go through this when I do knowledge
Sure,
dimensions.
sure,
Okay.
sure.
I
Okay,
will
yeah,
pick on
yeah.
that. And I will
Okay,
also
thank
show
you.
a resource that I have created for looking at the different levels of blooms and also looking at the different knowledge dimensions.
Sure,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now for this particular response, what I'm looking at is this. How does Bloom fit into the curriculum? Okay, you can write your standards using the Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, if you see different standards of whether you see KS3 or whether you use the mackerel standards or you use the NGSS standards for science or the core curriculum, you will see that in those standards they use the Bloom verbs. Okay, you can sequence your standards accordingly. When you go from lower level to higher level, you can sequence it and you can see. So now when I talk about uh, standards and everything, you can just Google mackerel standards. And thank you, Vishal, for sharing those with me when you came for the workshop at EduBridge, because I use that a lot. So when you use mackerel standards, so if I look at mathematics, okay, these are the standards. So now you can see the standards also use these verbs: understand, uses, understands, applies. Okay, can you see this? So when you look at topics, you can look at the topic here and you can see the standards. Uses basic this. When you look at the benchmark, knows, okay, solves, determines. Determine is a command term. Okay, so you can see that when you are writing the standards, you can use the command terms, the Bloom's taxonomy, and you can sequences it accordingly, lower level to higher level. When you look at content, okay, again you can move from lower level to higher level. Now how do you see it? IGCSE 0610 biology syllabus 2025. Suppose if I say that, if I get the syllabus here, and when I open the syllabus, okay, I can see here the command terms: state, identify, explain, describe. Okay, so these command terms are there. Outline. So when you look at your syllabus, you will know where the command terms are. Relate, identify. Okay, so this is where you can see for content. Skills, again, you can see, you can use the Bloom's skills domain. Okay, and in assessments, again, you can create the different types of assessments for the different levels of Bloom. I will again show you examples. I will ask you to give me a few, and if you can't, I will show you a list of what are the different assessment tasks that you can give for that particular level of Bloom. Okay, so this is it. So Next, what activities can you plan using Bloom's? What resources you can choose, okay, for the different levels. You also have Bloom's levels for using technology. If you look at Bloom taxonomy for technology, you will get a whole list of what all apps can you use for the different levels of Blooms. Okay, so here that is resources. Then essential questions. What are the different types of questions that you can ask at each level? Okay, again you can use the Blooms there. Timeline. How much will it take for students to move from one knowledge to the next knowledge, next skill? Pacing, you can decide how you want to pace your curriculum, how when the student is progressing through the different levels of understanding, and you can use the taxonomy in your unit plan, okay, in order to create your topic. We usually do 4 to 6 weeks uh, for a unit. Now, here is a task that I would like you to participate in. For the first level of Bloom, remember, I would want you to list some learning activities that you can do. And if you cannot remember or you cannot list the learning activities, at least you could write what kind of assessment task you can give for that remember level. Now, example, I can give multiple choice questions. Now, for remembering is recall. So what kind of task can you give for recall? Okay. So I have Ritu here. Okay, I have Siddharth who said quiz. Yes, quiz. Anything else? Learning activity or task that you can use for.
Do I write here? I've written in the chat box here. How do I write?
You will have to use the link and register yourself in order to 1 minute. I'll send you the link again. Click on the link and register with the same email ID that you have used for registering for this event. I have put the link in the chat box. So recall a song. Yes. Quiz, Paul. Very nice. Yes. Right. Rapid fire round. Yeah. We could use something like Kahoot. Right. Okay. So let me share with you what kind of. I think someone has to mute themselves. Yeah. So here is a list of verbs that you can use for remember. Okay. Retain, recall, and recognize knowledge. The different activities that you can do. You can use flashcards, you can highlight keywords, list things, ask them to list something, some memory activities. You can give some reading materials for remembering, watching presentations and videos. Now, these are the type of assessments that you can give for remember. Fill in the blanks, label, match the following, multiple choice. So now you know that when you have to create level 1 to 2 type of questions, then these are the type of questions that you can ask for 1 and 2. Remember. Okay. Now, next one. Again, here, I would want you to write down some learning activities or assessment task type that you can use for the second level of understand. Writing the correct equation from a worded algebraic expression, right? You are correct. A Mentimeter for a quick check. Yes, you can use that. Mind map. Yes. Graphic organizers, right? But graphic organizers are again of different types. So you'll have to tell me what type of graphic organizer are you telling for remember. Okay. Because if I'm using a Venn diagram, then that is not remember, it's compare contrast. So it would come at a little higher level. So here, let me check the responses. Yes, fishbone strategy, recall, exit ticket, 3-to-1 bridge, compare and contrast, pair share. You've written over here, yes, discuss exit ticket. Yes, we use a lot of exit tickets in order to find out whether the students have understood what is taught. So you can use a ticket where it says 2 things I liked or I liked doing or I understood from the class. One thing I'm not sure, and one thing I wish the teacher could have, explained me, and I would want to know more about. So that kind of exit ticket is good for understanding. You're very right. So this is what I gathered for understand. When you understand, you want the students to translate and interpret knowledge. This is actually what you're looking at. So what kind of activities can you give? You have written mind map. Yeah. Matrix activity, play, sketches, summarize, think, pair, share. Yes, I could see think, pair, share there. Concept map, demonstrations, diagrams, flowcharts, gamification. When you create games out of the content, then you want to know whether they have understood the content so that they can, play the game. The assessment type that you can give is write a summary, write an essay, diagrams, infographics, 1 minute paper. 1 minute paper is very good for language teachers. You can just Google 1 minute papers and you will come to know. You can see some templates also. 1 minute paper template, you will get template, English teachers. Short answers, quizzes, provide examples, presentation. So these are all the assessment types that you can give for the understanding level. Now let's go to the next level. I would want you to comment for apply, the next level of apply. What are the kind of learning activities that you can give for apply, or what are the assessment task type that you can give for apply? Labeling would be, yeah, I would say if it is only label, if it is annotate, maybe then I would say apply. Just labeling would be recall. So it would be in the first level of remember. Make a drawing on 1 point perspective, fishbone strategy. Okay. All right. Thank you for your responses. So here is a list of learning activities that you can do and the type of assessments that you can have for the level apply. So you can have calculation type of activity where they calculate graph data, uh, case studies, concept maps, demonstration, flipped classrooms. Okay, you give them something to read and then they have to do something based on that. Then gallery walk, group work, lab experiments, uh, map map work, problem solving tasks, where certain scenario is given and then you are asked to uh, apply the understanding and knowledge in that particular situation. So scenarios, okay. So the assessment types would be discussion board, post, e-portfolio, lab report. Again, 1 minute paper could be there for application, presentation, problem solving tasks. Here you could give a scenario. In mathematics also, you can give a particular scenario and then see how they apply their understanding of mathematics into a new situation or into a familiar situation. So application over here, it comes in the second strand for science criteria A, short answers and tests. Now next here, analysis level, some learning activities and assessment tasks that you can think about. Yeah, in sciences, when they design and investigation, then I think it will come under. Are you talking about apply, Ritu? Yes. Okay. All right. So let me go to the list again because we will be racing against time. So I'll just go through this. In analysis, what does analysis mean actually? It means breaking down the information and looking at relationship, if there is any pattern. Okay. So the kind of learning activities that you can do for analysis would be case studies, compare and contrast with chart, table, Venn diagram, concept map, debates. Debates could also be evaluation. Okay, evaluation and analysis, these higher order skills, higher order levels, you can use debates and discussions. Then you have graph, group investigation, questionnaires, report, survey, think, pair, share. These are the learning activities that you can do for analyze. And the assessments that you can look at is analysis paper, case study, critique. This critique, hypothesis and procedures, you have to analyze, right? And then evaluate later on. when you are doing criteria C in science lab investigation. 1 minute paper, research paper, review paper. Now you can see that how the assessments are changing from just remembering quiz, okay, and data type of questions to writing a research paper and critiquing. Okay, the levels are going higher. The next one is evaluate. Again, for evaluation, like I said, analysis and evaluation both, you can use debate as the learning activity. Again, over here, you also have compare, contrast, journal, pros and cons list, because you are making judgment, right? You look at evidence and you make judgment about whether it is good, not good, advantages, disadvantages. So this would be in evaluation. You can have a review paper, and the type of assessments that you can use is discussions. You have this question, right? Discuss blah, 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 blah in your exam paper. So that is evaluation. So it's a higher order. So it has more marks. Okay.
Morning, Ashika ma'am. There is
Hi.
a query regarding discussion. So
Hmm.
when we make a question regarding, assessment, this term discuss, I read it somewhere. We just don't write discuss. Along with discuss, do we need to write discuss and write? Otherwise, the question won't be complete. Because at the end of the day, finally, the child has to write in the write in the answer or write on a paper.
Yeah. So it's a good idea that when you are teaching this particular skill of writing answer to discuss type of questions, it's a good idea to share an exemplar with them. Make them understand what the command term is and share an exemplar and explain them what does discuss mean. Okay, it's a good idea to do that. Okay, so provide alternative solution and then report. Writing a report would be in evaluation. Let's come to the last level, create, where you are compiling information to generate new solutions. Look at the statement here, new solutions. I'm not telling you to just create something, draw a poster, no, but then make it a little more difficult. Draw a poster for what? Okay. And the learning activities that you can do for creation would be brainstorm, decision making, developing and describing new solutions or plans, performances, presentation, research project, written assignment. These are all the learning activities that you can do for create. And the assessment task that you can give is develop criteria to evaluate product or solution. So when we do the personal project, they have to create a product, as well as when we do design in MVP, they are supposed to create a product later on to for problem solving. So creation is always to solve a problem. Then if you are creating something to solve a problem, then it would come in this particular the highest level. Okay. A research proposal. These are all the assessment task types that you can use for uh, creation. Yes, Priya, you just raised your
Yeah,
hand.
yes, Ashika, I had a question. Suppose a question says there is a statement which is given like in the question paper which says we cannot allow the level of atmospheric pollution to continue increasing. International laws are needed to force countries to reduce their atmospheric pollution by at least 20% over the next 10 years. And the question is, to what extent do you agree with this statement? Give reasons for your answer.
Yeah.
So in a question like this, what are students supposed to do? Like what command term would you?
So this would be evaluation. Okay, analysis and evaluation. It's the highest order. Okay, so you will have to give reasons behind what is being said, and you have to come up with your judgment, whether you think is right or wrong, and give reasons for it.
So is it possible for children to be divided in their opinion, like, where they partially agree and or partially disagree?
Yes, you can, but you give me the reason why you're saying partially
As far
agree
as
and
it's
partially
backed up.
disagree. Yeah.
As far as
You
backed
need to
up.
give me a reason, like how we do for the lab also. When you write a hypothesis, you give a
Right.
reason behind it, right? Why you are
Right.
saying so.
Right.
So if you cannot back up, that means it doesn't have that evaluation type of it. You are just stating that I believe this, but why do you believe? You have
Correct.
not written. So I wouldn't give you 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. It will just be 1 and 2 or 3
Correct.
max.
But is
Correct.
partial agreement allowed, ma'am? Is partial agreement allowed? Isn't it
Why
either
not?
black or white in
No, no,
terms of
no,
answer?
no, 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 no. If you are
And to
putting
what
your point
extent?
of view, you can allow partial agreement.
Yeah.
You just
Okay.
have to give the reasons why you are saying so.
Okay.
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 Mm.
So for questions like which start with to what extent, does it always mean that there is a partial agreement or disagreement,
Could
or
be,
could it be
could
the
be, could be. It is open ended, right? Now, if I say,
okay?
do tools enable us? Okay, do tools enable us? Now, when I'm talking about tool, or I can also say gadgets. I can talk
Correct.
about washing machine. I can talk about the
Alexa, Siri.
yeah. Now, do you think it is useful? Yes, it is very useful for me as of now. Okay, I will
Hmm,
have
hmm,
a vacuum cleaner that will go and clean around. No, I don't have to use my hands and legs and all that, right? But then
hmm.
again, how is it having a bad effect on you? What are the negative points?
Correct.
Earlier, when I used to do it manually, I used to exercise also, right? Now I will have to remove some specific time in order to jog or in order to maintain my fitness, right?
Correct. Correct. Got
So
it.
Basically, too, when we
when
say,
you give your reasons behind why you're saying yes or no, I think it should be fine. Now, two participants raised hand. Whoever has raised hand, please tell me. You can go.
yeah, I think
Unmute
when you
yourself.
say, I think when I think when you say to what extent you are already inviting different perspectives, you
Hmm. Hmm.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
there is no
Okay.
certain solution. There is no fixed answer to this. So you are encouraging people to debate on that
Right.
and to justify their viewpoints with their research.
And so, if you really want me to take a position, I would write pros, I would write cons. Of course, if there are more cons, then I will pros, then I will say yes, I agree. If there are more cons in my justification, I said I will not agree. Right?
Correct. Correct. Correct.
And I justify with my research or
Correct.
my other one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Fine. Thank you. Thank you.
Uh, all right. So the next part of it. Now, I think Priya, you had asked about the different um, like compare and contrast or something you said, na? It can be here also, it
Yes.
can be there also.
Yeah.
Okay.
In
So now,
understanding and
yeah,
analyze.
yeah. So over here, what the revised Bloom's taxonomy says, okay, Anderson and Crothwall, okay, they were the two students of Bloom's, and they are further doing the revised, they have further revised the Bloom's taxonomy, and they have said that of course there are the 6 levels of Bloom, and they have changed the levels also. Earlier, the highest level was evaluation. Now, according to Anderson and Crothwell, they have said that creating is the highest level. That is the change, okay, between the fifth and sixth position. And they have also said that in each of these particular levels, there are different knowledge dimensions. Okay, now what do I mean by knowledge dimension? I mean that knowledge can be factual, knowledge can be conceptual, knowledge can be procedural, and knowledge can be metacognitive. Okay, now they are not saying which knowledge is one above the other. Okay, which one is at the highest level, which one is the lowest level, but they have said that knowledge can be divided into 4 different dimensions, 4 different types: factual knowledge, conceptual knowledge, procedural knowledge, and metacognitive knowledge. Okay, this is the diagram. This is the knowledge dimension, and this is the cognitive process: remember, understand, apply. Now, if you look at this box and this particular framework that Anderson and Crothwell has given, you can see that each of the command verb, command term is only in one particular box. It is not like here also you have this and here also you have the same verb. Okay, so for remember factual is list, for remember conceptual is recognize, for remember procedural is recall, okay, and for remember metacognitive is identify. Okay, so if you see, there is no overlap of command terms when you are going to divide the command terms according to the knowledge dimension. Okay. So keeping this in mind, what I had done, okay, my task, what I did was uh, first I collected all the MYP command terms from all the subject guides. Okay, all the command terms I took it from the guides, the individual guides. Then what I did is, there are some which are common, right? So what I did is, I put those all command terms into the different Bloom's levels. Okay. Now, after this, what I did is, I put it according to factual, conceptual, procedural, and metacognitive. So if you see, you will find it only once. Maybe procedural over here, understand and analyze. Okay. But mostly you will find that it comes only once. This I'm not sure. I'll have to decide where it should come. So if anybody wants to help me with this understanding, you can, I will just share this with you and you can give your views of what do you feel. This is what my understanding is.
Ms. Asheka, I can't
yes.
see the the full presentation. Can you move a little bit right? I can see just right part, but not the left part. I think you need to move a little bit left, unless I can, unless, yeah, I mean, you need to maximize probably.
1 minute. I don't know. I'll just share with this.
I can see the evaluate and the create part, bit of analyze part, not left of analyze.
Okay,
You
what I'll do is, I will share with you. I will share with you this document and then you can have a look at it. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So, so this is what I had done. Looking at the subject guide and looking at the command terms. So revise Bloom taxonomy with knowledge dimension. I have put the link over here of the same document that I just showed you. Now, I would now request you that after listening to me and after hearing me out throughout the session, about how you can use Bloom's taxonomy in order to write your objectives, in order to plan activities, in order to think about what kind of assessment tasks you are going to create for different Blooms, I would now request you to reflect on your understanding of this particular today's session and put in here under the reflection part, if you can type, I used to think, now I think. Okay. So the first thought bubble is, I used to think. What you used to think before attending this session? And now what do you think about Bloom's taxonomy? If you can put in the right bubble. Okay. So if you can just add in, so I'll get a reflection of what are your thoughts about Bloom's taxonomy. So I have Betty, who is there, Ritu, I have Meena. And if you cannot use this particular platform, then you can just put it in the chat. I used to think this, but now I think this. If you can just put in your reflection. Okay, so Cheryl says, I used to think I can plan. I used to think I can plan only a part of my lesson using Bloom's taxonomy. Then what do you think now? Difficult in planning, Zena. Meena, you've not responded. Ritu, you've not responded. Betty, not responded. Okay, you can add in the chat also. So I'll just conclude this. I'll just stop sharing my presentation and we can have a bit of discussion here.
Ma'am, can I have this recording as well?
Recording will be available on the events for a few days. I don't know whether you can download it or not, but the PPT, I can share it with all.
How will you share? Will you mail it?
We will mail it to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will ask Inan to mail it to you.
Thanks.
Me too, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. And thank you for participating. Also, you may want to use the Classipy tool in order to interact with your students in your classroom. You can see like how you can get responses individually. Thank you, Vishal, for coming.
Thank you, Ms. Asheka. Thank you, everyone. Really enjoyed this session, learning with all, and great to see some familiar faces and hear familiar voices as well. Thanks. Thank you, Ms. Asheka. Thanks, everyone.